Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome to Christian Motherhood Unfiltered. My name is Emma. I am a stay-at-home mom to two little girls, and I am here to yap your ear off today. Hope you guys are having a great start to your week if you're listening on Monday, and I hope you had a good 4th of July. I can't believe it has come and gone. We're like a week into July at this point, which is a little bit crazy that we're more than halfway done with 2025. But speaking of a new month, we're starting something new today. So at the first episode of every single month, I am going to take questions from you guys that you ask me, and that's going to kind of be the focus of the first episode every single month. And sometimes it's going to look different. Sometimes it will be rapid fire, kind of more shallow questions and not going super in depth, but answering more. And then sometimes I'm going to just take a question that you guys asked and really pull it apart and make it like an entire episode. So I put out a question box on my Instagram. And if you don't follow my Instagram, here's my shameless self plug. It's at Emma Grace Jens. It's always linked in the show notes. My YouTube channel is also always linked down there. And you should go follow me everywhere. But I will be putting out that question box pretty regularly. So if you guys ever think of a question or a topic that you want me to hit on these episodes at the beginning of the month, make sure you're following me and regularly checking my stories for that. But we're starting that today, which I'm really excited about. I think it will just be really fun to kind of peel back the layers and like make it a little bit more interactive and casual. So I put out the first question box for this new series the other day. And wow, you guys came up with so many questions, and I definitely saved a lot of them in my notes app for future podcast episodes because I just feel like there's a lot of things I could literally make a whole episode about. So that will be coming. And again, I'm going to do this at the beginning of every single month. So I will try to get to as much as I possibly can. But today we're going to start off with just a very typical casual Q&A, more rapid fire. I'm feeling chatty today, and honestly, I always assume that everyone who listens to this podcast or just follows me on any of my social media accounts has just always been here and kind of just knows everything about me already. So I hate repeating myself because I don't want to bore the people that have watched me and followed me for the past 5 years. But I know that that's not the case. I think when you are a content creator, you kind of get in this bubble of forgetting that the internet is like a real place and people like find you every day and don't know everything about you. So I forget that there's like, new people or people who have not heard some of these stories before. So I am going to kind of keep it very casual and just hopefully today you can kind of get to know me a little bit more. So, first question, we'll just jump right in because again, there were so many good questions. How did you become a stay-at-home mom and what was that journey like for you? So, again, I just assume everyone's been here for years, but I was a first grade teacher. That's what I got my degree in college. And that's when I started social media, was when I was in college. And I kind of started on Instagram as a teacher account, which was a really big thing back then, which I think it's still a thing, but it was the thing. Like, I'm talking when Instagram was just like overly filtered preset photos and your feed on your page had to look a certain way. And it was the thing. Like, it was so cool. And I kind of miss those days. I get nostalgic for that version of Instagram that just does not exist anymore. But that's where I really got started, was in that era of Instagram and posting teacher content while I was still in school to become a teacher. So that's how I got my footing and my following on social media. And when I started actually teaching and got like my first classroom, I started a YouTube channel and I vlogged setting up my first classroom. I vlogged like classroom hauls. I vlogged a lot of days in the classroom. And again, that's just how I kind of grew my channel. And I feel like that's just kind of what most of the internet knows me for. And it's been several years since I have shared teacher content, and I still feel like I am kind of uphill climbing against that and against starting in such a niche category of teaching that I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm still fighting against the algorithm on that one. But anyway, that's a story for a different time. So that's how I started. I taught all 3 years in first grade, but my first year was 2021, I think. Is that right? No, 2020. So I started in the fall of 2020, and that was quite a first year of teaching. And then the second year that I taught, I got pregnant with my first daughter, Jordan, and I taught another full year after that. So when she was 18 months old, I quit teaching. And if you don't follow me on YouTube, I have a bunch of videos of kind of like that whole process of how I came to the decision to stay home and like the things I was struggling with. And I vlogged a lot of my journey towards the end of my teaching career and then in the very, very beginning stages of being a stay-at-home mom, which was really shell-shocking, to be honest, to have worked since the day I turned 16. Like my first job, my first day of work was my 16th birthday. So I just always had jobs. I was always busy and I loved working. I loved being a teacher. And so it was hard, honestly, to shift from just always being overwhelmed and busy and full schedules to nothing and just like being home with my baby, and like my sole purpose is to take care of her. So that was quite a transition, but I have not always been a stay-at-home mom. I was a working mom for the first 18 months of her life, and that was really hard as well. I think both have their struggles, but man, if you're a working mom, let me just encourage you that what you are doing is so incredibly challenging, but it's so holy. Like it is so important to have working moms. I think I got another question. I don't think I even wrote it down, but it was a really good question. And it was something about, do you feel like certain moms are called to work and certain moms are called to stay home? And absolutely 110% I feel that, because I know some people like that I even taught with, for an example, that were incredible moms, but they did not understand like my inkling to stay home. Like they did not have that desire in their heart to be a stay-at-home mom. They loved their job and they loved being a working mom and they were really good at it. And I just feel personally that the Lord called me and put it on my heart to resign from that and to stay home while my children are young. So that's what I did. And yeah, it was a really challenging, like it was really good and I was really grateful for it, but it was a hard like 180 from being a working mom to being a stay-at-home mom. And then I also got a question of, would you ever go back to teaching? And I get this question every single time I do a Q&A, because again, I feel like a lot of my following came from those teacher days. So a lot of people are like, hey, are you ever going to get back to that? And I honestly don't know. Part of me feels like when my kids are the age that they will go to school, maybe I will go back to working or kind of find like a part-time teaching job, but I honestly don't know. And I think that's okay to not have it all figured out. That's something that I struggle with, is not having all of the answers, but I did love teaching. I was a first grade teacher, like I said, and I loved first grade. I also student taught in second grade, and I would love to teach in second grade one day. And I don't think my days in the classroom are done. Like I really believe that one day the Lord will call me back to that, because I do feel like that was something that I was really passionate about, and it was one of my callings and something that I think the Lord really equipped me for and called me to. I just think for the season of life that I'm in right now, that's not where He has me, and that's not where He is calling me right now. And so I'm just kind of being obedient and waiting for whenever that season returns, if it returns, because, you never know. Okay, that was a very long-winded first question. Next question is, why do you not show your kids' faces on social media? This is a really good question, and it kind of ties into what I was just talking about with how I had a full teacher account. That was my whole niche, was teaching. And so when I had my daughter in my second year of teaching, I was not a mom account. Like I did not make that my whole personality, but I wanted to kind of share like what it was like to be a working mom as a teacher, because that was my new normal. And I remember I was a month or two postpartum. I was still on my leave and I was in the mood to vlog. I missed vlogging on YouTube and I just wanted to film that day. And so I propped up the camera. And I can picture it so clearly though. It was a very like snowy day and I was in the trenches of postpartum and I just wanted to vlog and like feel normal. So anyway, I vlogged my day and I like went to edit it, and I felt such a conviction while I was editing. I think I even edited the whole thing and I went to upload it and I never hit post because I was just so convicted over showing my daughter and my newborn baby to the internet, it just felt very raw and very personal and vulnerable. And so I just kind of leaned into that conviction that was very clearly from the Holy Spirit. And I wasn't even fully sure at that moment what that feeling was. I can now look back in hindsight and see that that was the Holy Spirit leading me and convicting me and giving me discernment in that moment, because now I feel very strongly about it. But at that time, I didn't know how I would feel about posting my kids on social media because I had never been put in that situation before. So all that to say, I never posted the video. I think I re-edited it and just only showed parts of her where you couldn't actually see her. And I've just kind of been using the Holy Spirit as my guide ever since and what I feel comfortable doing. But that has always been something since that moment that I am very, very particular about. I feel like kids on social media is like my Roman Empire. Like, I think I could talk about it for hours because I'm very passionate about it, but you have to be really careful because there are so many people that I am very close friends with that show their kids on social media, and I am not at all calling them out, and none of this has anything to do with anyone besides my own conviction. I think everyone is going to feel differently, and I am not here to bash people that show their kids on social media. I'm just here to share kind of where I stand, and I just think it is so tricky and sticky, and it's just a line and a boundary that I feel very cautious of, because when you are a content creator and you put your life on social media, I think it's a defense mechanism almost to get over feeling uncomfortable that all these people are watching your life, to kind of forget that they exist. Like, no one's actually really watching this or listening to this. And so it makes me feel a little bit less weird about opening up and vlogging my days and like uploading my life for people to see. If that makes sense, I think that's kind of the defense mechanism that at least I personally use to feel more comfortable posting online. Maybe other people agree with that who post on the internet. But the reality is there are a lot of people watching your content, and there are a lot of eyes that will see your children if you choose to post them. And I do not have control over who is seeing my kids, and I don't like that. It is my job as their mom to protect them and to guard them. And for me personally, I choose to guard them in the way that I don't want anyone to know what my kids look like. I am very, very private about where we live, about the things that we do. Like, every single thing you will ever see me post or talk about in a vlog on Instagram and even on this podcast, like, I overthink everything. You can ask my husband. I'm a little bit crazy. Like, I am so hyper aware of the things I say, the things that are in the background of my videos, even like the stores that we shop at. I won't even say specific chain stores that we shop at if they're only in certain states in the US, because I don't want people to be able to Google the store I mentioned and narrow it down to which states I could live in. That's how crazy I am. And not because I'm paranoid, but because I just take this responsibility very seriously. And I just made it a priority from mine from day one that if I'm going to do this and put my life out there on the internet, and I'm going to do it as a mother, then it is going to have to be my top priority to keep them safe while I share my life. And it is a really tricky balance. And again, I am not bashing anybody that shares all the information. I just am so overly cautious. I remember when I worked and taught, I had people that would find out where I worked and they would send me emails to my work email, or like somebody found where I worked one time and came to the school, you guys. I really hesitate to even say that. I'm sure she doesn't still follow me or listen. I hope not, at least. And she was so sweet, but she had like a connection in the past with the school. And somehow it worked out that like they let her come and meet me and like come to my classroom after school and like take a picture with me. And I was pregnant at the time with my first daughter. And I remember that was a turning point for me as well. That was before she was even born, and I had even thought about like my kids' privacy online. And I remember thinking like, okay, this is a lot. Like this girl was so sweet and like kind and genuine, but just the fact that I can't control what if there was a person that wasn't so kind and genuine that showed up to my school to meet me one day and I'm pregnant, or showed up to my house with my kids, or I don't know. It's just really tricky. So I'm very passionate about it. I need to get off my soapbox because you opened a can of worms, because this is just something I'm so passionate about, because these children do not have the ability to consent to their life on the internet, and you also do not have control over who is watching these videos and what they're going to do with these videos and what they can find out from these videos. So anyways, that's just a very firm boundary that I personally have. Please don't get offended if you share your kids on social media, or if you're a mom content creator, like you do you have your own convictions. And I think if you feel comfortable and safe with it, that is all that matters. That's just where I'm at, and we need to move on. Okay, next question. Another very, very popular question that I get asked all the time is, how many kids do you want? And also I got asked, what is the age gap between my two girls, and if I like that age gap, and if I am planning on doing that age gap again in the future. So my girls are 2 years and 3 months apart, and that was kind of my plan. I always heard like 2 years was a really good age, and I love it, especially now. My girls are 3.5 and 16 months old, and I really like it. I think they are just little best friends, and I just see the fruit of my labor. That sounds really dramatic, but that first year was really, really, really rough. And sometimes it is still really hard, because I think in my mind, I thought I got out of the whole like 2 under 2 bubble that people talk about and go through. And I did not want to do 2 under 2. I don't have any desire for 2 under 2. I don't think I can handle it. So I thought, okay, I'll wait till a little bit past 2 years, but it was still dang hard. I don't feel like I waited quite far enough into the 2-year age gap. 2 years and 3 months really was not that different than 2 or 2 under 2. I don't know. I can't compare because I didn't have 2 under 2, but it was hard. But I will say their relationship is so sweet, and I know they're going to be best friends forever. And even now they're just finally getting a little bit more independent, and they like to play together more, and they are really each other's favorite person. And I love too that I got to have 2 girls back to back. I just think that's so special to have sisters that close in age. So I do love it. I would recommend it. I guess maybe just don't expect that it's going to be easy having a 2-year age gap. It's still challenging, mainly just because I thought having a 2-year-old, they wouldn't be a baby. But like my 2-year-old, I look back at pictures when Hallie was first born, and when Jordan was 2, she was still so little. And I think it just made her grow up a little bit faster than I wish she would have had to have, if that makes sense. I had to kind of mature her a little bit and let her be a little more independent, which isn't a bad thing, but it made me feel a little bit sad because I just had a newborn to tend to. So anyways, I do like it. I do think, however, that for our next child, I would like to make the age gap just a smidge bigger, not too big. And I don't even want to give like a time frame, because who stinking knows, right? I am already like, I'm not there. I'm not ready for another kid, but I am already in the stage of like praying about it a lot and just telling the Lord like, hey, this area of my life that's starting to kind of come back into my mind and consume my thoughts, even though I'm not ready yet. I think it's just natural for, well, me personally, maybe it's just because I'm a planner. It's natural for me to kind of like marinate on the future and like over plan everything in the future. So I'm already really praying and surrendering that when it is time for us to have another baby, like the Lord will make that happen, and we'll just have to see. But in a perfectly planned world, I think I would like to wait somewhere between 2.5 to 3.5. I think sounds okay to me. And we'll see where in that time frame we end up. And in terms of how many kids we want to have, again, that's something that I pray about very often, and I like to overplan. And my husband will get after me all the time because he's like, Emma, we don't need to figure out how many kids we're going to have today. Like, we will figure it out. And I'm like, I know, but I want to know. I want a game plan. I don't know. Let me know if you're like that too. But I know we want 3. I know we're not done with 2. And I wasn't sure actually when we had our second daughter if we would want a third. And I just felt like immediately we're not done. Like, she is incredible and I can't be done with this like experience, but also it just still doesn't feel like we are complete. I don't know how to explain it. I just still feel like there are children who are meant to be in our family that are missing, and I don't know how to explain that. And hopefully one day I feel done. Maybe I will feel that feeling forever. Like I'm never fully done, but we'll see. I kind of put that in the Lord's hands after I had our second daughter and just said, you call the shots. You tell me and give me a feeling for what to do with our family. And I have felt the entire time like there's at least one more. So we will cross that bridge when we get to it. And if we end up with a fourth, I think that'd be cool too. Let's do one more question because I'm really, really chatty today. Wow. Okay. Will you homeschool? Another top question, especially because of my past as a teacher. This is the primary question I feel like I get asked, especially as my daughter is now 3.5 and kind of entering into that potential preschool age. So this is another thing that I really like to overplan and overthink all the time. But where I'm at today, right now, is I think for the fall, I'm going to make it really easy and really simple. I'm not going to overthink any kind of preschool or anything like that. I think we will probably do a little bit, but I just really believe in keeping them young and letting them just be kids. They're going to be in school their whole life. And I know there is a lot of value to preschool, and I'm not disagreeing with that. But I think there is also a lot of value in just really honoring and protecting childhood. And I think when we rush them into like 5 days a week, all day, sitting at a table at 3, for me personally, that's just kind of what I don't want to do with my kid, especially because I have the choice. I know a lot of people do that because they're working, and that seems like a better choice than like a daycare. That is not what I don't have that situation. I just think because I'm home, because I have the resources and the capability, I would like to keep her home while I can. And I think when she kind of gets to a point where I feel like she needs to be getting exposed to more academic topics and subjects, I will probably introduce a little bit of homeschool stuff. But right now, my plan is for the first few years of her education, probably doing some sort of hybrid scenario. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. I don't feel 100% confident in just sending her into a public school, but I also don't love the idea of 100% homeschool. And I know there are co-ops and things like that, but I don't know. I just would love to find some kind of hybrid in between, like a few days a week she goes to a class and then a few days a week I homeschool her. But we're not there yet. And so again, it's just something that I am already kind of praying about and surrendering to the Lord and just trusting that when the time comes and that situation approaches and I have to make a decision, that He will guide me to make the right decision. And I think this is something people feel really passionate about for good reason, but I think I get a little nervous sometimes to talk about it because people feel so passionate about it one way or the other. And I don't think every family is one size fits all, and that's okay. So we will see how that goes. I will say, definitely leaning more towards homeschool than not. I already feel like she's getting a lot at home, and I'm really not going to stress about it until she's the age where she needs formal sit down schooling. So we'll cross that bridge as well when we get there, but that is a question that I get literally every time I do a Q&A because of my history as a teacher. And I think people want me to not bash public education, but I think they just want my opinion and my stance on it as a previous public educator. And again, this is where you have to be really careful because I loved working in a public school, and I have a lot of people that are close to me who send their kids to public school, and I am not against it. I think they have so many benefits, and I think, you don't fix a system by ignoring it and avoiding it. But I also think, again, it's a very, very broken system, and I just saw a lot of things firsthand when I was a teacher. At a very, very, very young age, I taught 6 and 7-year-olds, and wow, the stories I could tell you that those 6 and 7-year-olds were exposed to, whether it was from other peers or their family, and they came and talked to me about it. Like there was a lot. And Yeah. Anyways, I'm not here to bash public education, especially if you send your kids to public school. We're not gonna do that. That's just where I'm at. So I think that's a good place to stop this chatty podcast episode. Let me know if you like the longer episodes or if you would rather them be like a little bit shorter and more concise and just straight to the point. I am learning how to edit a podcast. I got a new microphone setup. Hopefully you can tell a difference. Hopefully you're not like, this is the worst sounding podcast of all time. Let me know though. I would love to hear feedback. And let me know if you are enjoying, like I said, the longer, more casual episodes. This is just very different from vlogging, which is what I've been doing for 5 years, which is crazy. That's all that I know. So all that I know is like making it very choppy, cutting out all the extra space, making sure everything is perfect and fine-tuned. And I'm kind of learning on podcasting, it's a little bit more casual and the longer breaks are okay. And even like some of the filler words, I'm just learning to be okay with the extra space and the imperfections. So, anyways, all that to say, let me know if you like the rambling and you like it a little bit more casual, or if you prefer a little bit shorter and more concise and just like give me the bullet points and let me get on with my day. Thank you so much for watching. Nope, not watching. See, I'm in vlogging mode. I have to correct myself all the time. This is so new for me. Okay, thank you for listening on Spotify or Apple or YouTube or wherever you are listening. Do not forget to give me a rating and a review. It is so, so helpful. And I am loving reading your comments on the podcasts. It's really, really helpful. And your DMs on Instagram. Also, like I said earlier, make sure you go follow me on Instagram. If you do not, it is at Emma Grace Jens. Thank you guys so much for being here, listening to me yap and ramble and chat your ear off. I hope you got something done today while I talked with you, whether it was just a car ride or your laundry. Let me know what you were doing while listening today, and I will see y'all next week. Bye, friends.